Hello. Watch this, please. Actually, the whole point of this, of what you're going to see in a minute, is I can't see it from here. I press the button. I need you to take a look for me at what happens when I press this. Yeah, you ready for this? Hey, hey. As I say, I can't see it, but apparently I can hear it. Excuse me. Dropping the cable. Right, third time. That's actually the last time it happened. Walked out to the loo, it fell on my head. So, we're getting there. Still some teething problems. Also, a light over the door. It's not exactly a necessary requirement for a writer. We don't have to have a button that turns a light on, except there is more. And actually, there's less as well. Let me tell you the less part first. The less part is you don't have to have a button to this. You've got to have a light, obviously. Well, there isn't a light to light up, and also you have to have a reason for this. But between you and I, we'll figure the reason out. You can do this with your iPhone. You can do it with Siri. You can do it with a button. And there are reasons why there are certainly reasons why it's fun for us, but there are also reasons why it's useful for us as writers to have this. Oh, stop looking at me like that. I promise you, it's there. Come on, work with me on this. Work with me. Hey, suit. I can be serious too, Yeah, okay. All right, I'm just back in from the school. They had me come in to give a speech. If they knew what the daftness you and I were about to be talking about right afterward. Anyway, hello. I'm William Gallagher, and this is 58 Keys. Which, no, actually, hang on. One more thing. One more kind of example thing. I know that this is just you and me talking, right? But I could press that on air button now, while we natter. I could, in all seriousness, I could press it when I'm on the phone, I suppose, or when I'm actually on air, when I'm actually doing radio things. Plus, I suppose, if you have one of these things, you could press it just when you need to get something written. It's kind of a keep out as well as an on air. But there is more, and I think you'll like it. I'm pretty sure you'll think it's overkill, but I think you'll like it. Look at this, please. This isn't the on air button that you saw. If I press it, I instead go to a new set of buttons that do very similar things. I've arranged it this way. And this one right here, right under the first on air button that you saw, that is an actual on air button. Press that, the light goes on. Press it again, the light goes off. Fine. But then there's this. Every now and again, I am a guest on the appleinsider.com podcast, and there are always certain things that I'm required to do in advance or during it. I mean, I suppose I have to talk during it, but also prepare things. Actually, just watch. So that button, it does turn on the on-air light, but also, since I can't actually see the light from here in my office, it also pops up a notification on my Mac telling me that it's done this, that the light is on. And it launches Skype as well. It opens Apple Notes, or whether or not it's open already, it opens it and takes me to the folder that the podcast host, Stephen Robles, shares with me so that I can see what he's covering, I can brief myself, I can be a bit prepared for it. Pressing that button once also quits mail, which tends to be what interrupts me the most. I'm addicted to mail. And it turns on Do Not Disturb, the Mac feature that, at least in theory, blocks all notifications, all interruptions. And lastly, I promise, I am still kind of slightly playing with this, but it launches the audio recording app that I need to use for the podcast. And what I'm doing, I'm bouncing between a QuickTime Player that's free on your Mac and Audio Hijack, which isn't, but is fantastic. I'm not sure which one I'll stick with, but probably Audio Hijack. I like it a lot. Now, that isn't the only audio recorder I use, I should say this. I also use this. It's called a smart mic, and as it happens, easily the most frustrating piece of technology since I last used Windows, really. But when you get it connected, when you get it working, if the connection stays, it sounds so much better than anything else I've got. So I do have to set that up separately and watch it. And yeah, there are a couple of other things, right, that can't be put on a button, that can't be automated, fine. But so many things I have to do for that podcast recording or similar ones, I always have to do for that podcast or similar ones. So now it's one button and I'm pretty much ready, which means I also don't forget a bit. I don't forget to open the recording app. Just for completeness, by the way, if I press that button again, it quits Skype. I never use Skype for anything but that podcast. It turns off Do Not Disturb. It turns off the on-air light and it notifies me that it's done this. I could, but I don't have it quit notes or my audio recording apps because there are still things that I tend to have to do with those after the recording session is over. Things to do with you preparing the audio, sending it to the editor, the producer of the podcast, that kind of. Please tell me, though, there's something in all of that that you can see being useful to you, because otherwise I am down the deepest, darkest, daftest rabbit hole I know. But it is quite nice here. Two important things, call it three important things. You saw me use this button, this Stream Deck button, but you don't have to use a stream. You don't have to use a button. I'm actually going to leave that bit to last because you can do all of this straight from the Mac's own keyboard or directly from your iPhone and things. It's just if you do have a Stream Deck, it is particularly satisfying pressing that button. No, you're right, silly things, but it's good. It's good. Second thing. This is actually about mostly using what you already have. So have a Stream Deck, don't have a Stream Deck yet. It's chiefly though built around shortcuts, which is already on your Mac. Things like that. Third, I knew what the third thing was. I would not have gone out to buy all of the bits to do this. Certainly not the Stream Deck, which is the most expensive part of it. I did what you're seeing here because I had a lot of the pieces already. And it's true, I used to work in radio. I've always wanted an on-air. I wanted it for ages. And every time I looked into it, it was really expensive. The way I've done it, the way you've seen, well, it adds up, but nowhere near as much as some of the solutions I was seeing. But actually, let's deal with that. Let me show you the bill of materials. Mac or iPhone? You've already got that. An iPad does it too. Fine. HomeKit. This is Apple's built-in smart home technology. You've already got this. Whether you use it or not, you've got it. Shortcuts, same thing. Apple's built-in automation technology, you've got this whether you use it or not. What you probably don't have, may not have, is a smart plug. I got a smart plug strip, a mains extension that I can control through HomeKit, and here in the UK it cost me £40. For once, I'm not going to give all the UK-US prices, mostly because the US ones vary so much. But broadly speaking, in America you have just 3 times far more HomeKit smart plug options than I ever do here in the UK. So you can get plenty of them and they're cheap. I actually got that smart strip for Christmas. I mean, that sounds like a present. I mean, I got it so that I could plug our Christmas tree lights into it because it was Christmas. It was nice being able to walk into my living room and say, hey, be careful here, William. Hey, Iris, it's Christmas. And have the tree light up for me and then switch off by itself automatically. When you get any HomeKit device, plugs or light bulbs or whatever, you have to add it to your home. You're adding it to the Home app on your Mac, your iPhone, your iPad. And part of that is saying what room this device is in. Part of it is giving it a name. So originally, I clicked to say this new extension strip I'd bought was in my living room. And I called it Christmas Lights. Telling you, imagination. Then to do what you and I are doing today, I changed the name to Extension Strip. All right, I'll make it on air, something like that, okay? And then click to say, actually, it's in my office instead. It isn't, it's out on the landing, but... it happened, the extension strip I was looking at included, as well as mains plugs, it had USB sockets, and that's what I've used for the on-air light. You can plug a USB cable into a regular plug, USB plug, and then plug that into a mains. But when I tried that, for some reason it didn't work, and I really don't know why. USB direct connection did it. USB is more delicate than I realized. Also, particularly actually over long distances. It shouldn't be used over long distances. It's meant to be for short runs, like connecting a keyboard to a computer or something. But you can get USB cables that are wired to be longer than usual, and I did. It's about £20. I'll look at the exact one, I'll put it was it 10 or 20? Sorry, I think it was 10. I'll put it in the description. Anyway, the trickiest part of this, the thing that normally when I would look into it, made it look like this was going to be really more expensive than it was worth, was the light itself, until I found this, and it's close to right. This is a battery-powered on-air light, which you turn on with a button switch to the side. I've checked, this is in UK and US, by the way, this model. I'm fine with the batteries bit, but you know, I wanted to control this remotely, so I had to have something that would connect via USB, and this one does. And if it connects over USB, you don't need batteries. It gets power from the USB cable. So you don't need batteries. You don't have to think about them. That's the thing. You don't have to remember them. Whereas with this model, you do have to think about that button on switch. You have to think about it a lot. I could rig all of this so that I control the extension cable, turn that on by remote control, and it would send power to the light, but the light wouldn't do anything unless I physically got up, went out to the office, pressed that on switch every time. And then the reverse, then went out to the office, reached up, pressed it to turn it off. I got out the ladders basically to find the button. As long as that button had to be pressed, I just couldn't do anything remotely. Please watch this, because you are going to see the absolute limit of my electrical engineering skill. I mean, not only the limit of the skill, just about the only time I've ever even tried to do something remotely like this. You may find this easy. I didn't. I removed the switch, took the switch out of the circuit, then closed that circuit, rewired the bits together, taped it up to hold. This light now skips the switch. It turns on whenever it gets power over USB, and it turns off whenever it doesn't. That was it. That was all I needed from the hardware. I did actually then struggle with nails trying to get the sign mounted. But with that set, I could turn that light on and off with a tap on my iPhone, and that's where this started. Next, let me show you how the rest of this works. What happens once I've pressed a button on my Stream Deck, which we'll get to later, or when either you or I use the Mac's keyboard or the iPhone's keyboard. I'm not actually going to take you through every single minute step, because most of it is the same step repeated over and over. Just one time it launches this app, that time it quits Swan. The key thing is here in Shortcuts. Open Shortcuts for me on your Mac, click on the plus sign to make a new one. Give it a name that you'll remember, like On Air Light On. Okay, you could piddle about with changing the icon, choosing a color and stuff, but we don't need it. We're never going to see this, we're never going to look at it. Instead, what we need is this. In the Search for Apps and Actions box, type Home. Now, where mine says Control 33 Broadway, yours is going to say Control wherever you are, if you've set up the Home app and things like that. Drag that from the side into the main panel, and there it changes to say Set Scenes and Accessories. Click in Scenes and Accessories, and you get possibly quite a long list of smart lights and anything else that you happen to have already connected to HomeKit. I mean, I've been doing this for years, so I've built up a lot of lights and a few switches and things, for instance. Scroll all the way down, find the room that your extension strip is in my case, my office, WG Office. Now, it was an extension that had main sockets plus a set of USB ones. Well, I did it. I renamed the USB bit to On Air so that I'd find it. Now click Next. By default, this next page, it shows you your device turned off. Click on it there to turn it on. Now click Done. And what you've got now is a shortcut that says Set On Air. And if you click On Air, it shows you that in the setting there you can see it will turn it on. Fine. Close that shortcut and now make exactly the same one all over again, except have it so that the shortcut turns the light off. Now, we could stop here. Anytime you like, you can run those shortcuts and then the on-air light would turn on, or the on-air light would turn off. I was quite happy with that for a little while. And then once you've got that though, you can add extra steps right there in the shortcut. You can, like this, you can ask the shortcut to open an app. You can ask it to quit apps. You can set it to Do Not Disturb, and so on. Almost all of the things you've seen me do. last step, and an entirely optional one. This is a little long, but seriously, don't go buy a Stream Deck just to do this. But if you buy one for other things, or if you already have one as I have, then you can do this thing of making one button run as what's called a multi-switch action. This is the Stream Deck app on the Mac. Drag multi-switch thingy over here, and now you can set what the first action is. The first action is, well, in this case, it's that I want to press that button and the light will turn on. So really, actually, the first action is I want this button to run the shortcut that turns the light on, that ate the fly, that did it. Multi-action just means that I can have a button that does two things. Really, that I press it once to run the shortcut that turns on the light, and then when I press it again, that it runs the different shortcut, the very similar shortcut that turns the light off. It's supposed to be possible to run one of these shortcuts on the Mac directly from a Stream Deck button. There's a control in it, there's an option for it, but I keep getting errors when doing it, and I'm the faintest idea why. So instead of having the button, this is like an abstraction that's getting more and more further away from what we want. Rather than having the button like that, do it directly, we kind of cheat. We turn that shortcut you created into an application, and Stream Deck will very easily open or launch any app you've got. So if you make turn light on the shortcut into an app, then adding that to a button is easy. Go back to shortcuts for me. Open that on air light on shortcut, then click on this settings icon. Click to tick use as quick action. It will then automatically by itself click on the services menu, but don't let it. You're in charge here. Untick services menu, thank you very much, Apple, and tick the Finder one. Now, way over there, under the File menu, way over there, particularly on the long screen, choose Add to Dock under the File menu. We don't actually want this in a dock, and we're not going to take up space in the dock with this, but just temporarily, choose Add to Dock. Now, let's get rid of it from the dock. Click and drag on the icon, drag it up and away until you see the word remove, and just let go and it's deleted. It's deleted from the dock. The app still exists. The app you've made out of this shortcut still exists. It's just not in your face all the time. We want it in the Stream Deck button. So, back to Stream Deck. Right, and then click here and choose an application. One thing, if you use a lot of applications, you're used to where they are, and this is slightly different. These apps that are made out of shortcuts, they don't appear with all of your other apps or most of your other apps. Instead, go up through the folder levels to use the folder, and then into the applications folder that's there, and you'll see far fewer. There is actually something odd here. Sometimes everything is grayed out, like you can't select it, yet you can. I don't know. Find the on-air light on-air light on app. Choose that, whether it's grey or not. Click. And now, back in Stream Deck, set to do the second button. Go through exactly the same steps to add on-air light off. You can add icons to the button, as I have. I just made those as square icons in an image editor, Pixelmator Pro, because that's what I was using at the time, and I very much like. Made them, dragged them in. It is useful, and it's clear when you have different icons for light on and light off. But the thing is, you've got the button anyway. You can do what you like with it in terms of the images. Listen, I don't want to go into that detail because already I'm describing it. Describing it this way, describing it takes longer to do than for you to actually go do it, especially the second time. Second time through with the light off one, you'll fly. And I know this is fiddly and it takes up time when we could be writing, but I think it's well, I enjoyed it. But also, once you've set it up, it's set and forget. It's use it every day, every week, whatever. It's used whenever you need. And it's always there, and it always works, except when the light falls off and hits somebody. And you never miss out a step. I never forget a bit. I never forget to bring up the notes for the podcast to record, because the Mac does it for me. I went off on one there. What was I saying? Oh yeah, hello. This is 58 Keys, which as ever is for writers like you and me who use and who write on Macs and iPhones and iPads and with on-air lights and sellotape around the battery pack. Do subscribe because there's so much to talk about. And okay, I doubt very much that you and I will ever be talking about rewiring lights, but you never know. In the meantime, though, that is it for this edition of 58 Keys. Thank you very much for watching. Now, take care of yourself. Write more instead of sitting there pressing the light on and, oh, I'm projecting. That's just me. I'll see you soon.